What's up, folks? Anthony Armstrong here, former NFL receiver and host of Believe in Commanders. And with the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League. It's a league specifically created for combo projections that includes two or more players from different sports or leagues. Make your way over to prizepicks.com/believe and use the code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for a first deposit match up to $100. You must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details. Pick more or pick less. It's that easy. Prize Picks.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome in to another edition of the JMU Sports News Podcast. I am Bennett Conlon, joined by Jack Fitzpatrick. Jack, how are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We haven't talked since the 2023 calendar year, and a little peek behind the curtain. Bennett and I don't talk at all between these podcasts just so that I can be as fresh as possible. So this is the first time we're ever talking in the year 2024.
Yeah, we don't text. We like to keep it more unfiltered thoughts.
Could you imagine if we just didn't talk to each other and it was just
it's just a StreamYard link once a week.
You're just going to the tech. Wow, this is a little scary. But how was your Christmas? How was your New Year's?
It was good. I was in Florida enjoying myself, making the rounds, trying to recruit some players. So I'd go to some local high schools and they're all closed, but just wanted my presence felt to walk around in some purple and see if I could get the word out.
Yeah. Did you find any good beer down in Florida?
No, none. There's I think the best beer is still in Virginia.
Yeah. Where is that again?
That's at 3 Nuts, folks. And eyes are going to stay open today. But on Mondays, 3 Nuts, they have Minuteman Mondays, which is a deal, right? It's an absolute steal. And I believe they're $3, if I'm not mistaken. Tuesdays, you got half off cases, which is just an unbelievable deal. Nobody in Florida is giving you half off a case of beer. And then Friday, of course, First Tap Friday. Pretty exciting stuff there. They should start doing those for Saturdays, First Tap Saturday, when you play App State in men's basketball games, just for us. But I guess they do them on Fridays, which is cool as well.
Yeah, January 13th. We won't get there for First Tap Friday, but we might be able to get over there on a Saturday to get a couple pregame.
Second Tap Saturday.
Ooh, I like it. So take last week's First Tap Friday, make it the Second Tap Saturday, and then Third Tap Thursday. So that First Tap Friday of the first tap of the first Friday of the first month then becomes the Third Tap Thursday on Thursday, right?
Yeah, I'll transcribe that and send him an email tonight.
Yeah, perfect. Locations in Harrisonburg, the Valley Collab House, our favorite brewery in all of Harrisonburg. Also locations in Roanoke, Richmond, Virginia Beach, and their new location in Nelson County. If you're a bourbon lover like myself, they also have a delicious new bourbon that you can buy, I believe, at all locations except the Valley Collab House. Oh, and Charlottesville, location in Charlottesville. But it is a delicious bourbon. I tried it at the Richmond location. Need to get back over there to buy it. But it is absolutely delightful. And with the NFL playoffs right around the corner and the NBA season in full swing and Bennett Conlon frozen on our screens, BetOnline has you covered with all of the up-to-the-second odds, news, and scores. With additional odds, lines, trends, and info on both desktop and mobile. You can access the world's best wagering information at any time. Head to betonline.ag, head to their website today and get in on the action and see every single updated odd. Remember to use promo code BELIEVE, that's promo code BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. And where the game's starting for me, I'm taking Washington to beat Michigan in the national championship. I love Michael Penix, big Penix energy, and that's what I'm going there. And Bennett has left us. He's a black screen. This is very unfortunate because we were about to dive right on into this one, breaking down JMU's big time win over Texas State. They took down the Bobcats 82-65. But I think the biggest story coming out of that game, in my opinion, and we'll get Bennett's opinion on it in a little bit when he eventually joins us back, is the fact that TJ Bickerstaff coming out of that one earned Sunbelt Player of the Year. And I really think that TJ Bickerstaff is putting together an early candidacy for Sunbelt Player of the Year. I think at this point, that he has done enough to be the midway season, midpoint player of the year in the Sun Belt. He is absolutely dominating all of the competition. And Daniel Merriman, he's telling us Christopher Williams, he wants that ad. I was trying to do a little something special with it and drop it in the middle of the podcast, but because we're still waiting on Bennett, I will drop the Christopher William Jewelers ad right here, right now, so that he can get his luxurious and laid back vibes.
There's a reason Christopher William Jewelers has been voted Best of Virginia year after year. It's not just one thing that sets us apart. It's everything. It's the selection, extensive and unmatched, with every engagement ring, loose diamond, and fashion jewelry chosen for quality and brilliance. It's the service. From our diamond experts to our master goldsmith, our team shares a passion for what they do, and it shows. It's the atmosphere, both glamorous and laid back. See for yourself why people can't stop talking about Christopher William Jewelers in Harrisonburg and Weir's Cave.
Harrisonburg and Weir's Cave, both luxurious and laid back. That's Christopher William Jewelers. And as Bennett's Wi-Fi is fine, I'm getting the live updates now. He's trying to restart. His Wi-Fi is fine. His StreamYard kept going out. So what we record on, he cannot get his access to it. So that's no bueno. But we'll break it down. JMU's win over Texas State. Before the Christopher William Jewelers ad, we were talking about TJ Bickerstaff's candidacy to become the Sun Belt Player of the Year. He's coming off of a otherworldly performance. He dropped 21 points on Texas State's head, 10 rebounds, a double-double for him. He also had 5 assists, just 1 foul, and he had 2 steals as well. TJ Bickerstaff has been a huge, huge piece of this JMU offensive attack. Him and Terrence Edwards have been kind of that 1-2 punch that JMU has been missing out on for a long time. And they are probably the reason, with a little bit of Michael Green sprinkled in there as well, that the Dukes have the nation's longest win streak at 13. Bennett, so nice of you to join us. We're just talking about the Dukes extending their win streak over Texas State. It did feel a little weird being on that end of it because normally I'm the one that cuts out.
Yeah, I went out for about 3 minutes there. I went out when you were talking about TJ Bickerstaff. I came back. You were still talking about
there was a Christopher William Jewelers ad in there.
Okay, pretty cool.
But
yeah,
I mean,
been great.
He's the Sun Belt Player of the Year at this point, right?
Him and Edwards are probably your top 2, right? So one of those 2 would be my favorite right now.
Those are both of the 2. That I think Terrence Edwards is the only person that would take away votes from Bickerstaff at this point.
Yeah, it's a tough call with those 2. They've both been phenomenal. It's rare you have 2 guys who are kind of jockeying for Conference Player of the Year, but they've looked really, really good. They haven't had a close game in well over a month, right? I guess the last single-digit game was on the 22nd of November or 21st of November.
Was that the Radford game?
Southern Illinois was by 6, and then I guess one possession would be Radford on the 17th. They've just been blowing people out.
That's insane. And I mean, you've seen Bickerstaff make a huge impact. Edwards make a huge impact. Michael Green will likely have a huge impact this weekend against Louisiana and Southern Miss, both teams that aren't that strong defensively, specifically against a 3-point shot. And I think that's where Michael Green will thrive. We'll get into that in just a little bit in the 3-notched weekly preview. But I mean, they're now number 19 in the AP top 25. This was a game, it felt like, that as you were watching it, the eye test told you that they weren't necessarily balling out.
Yeah, maybe didn't play their best and still won by 17, which has me a little concerned, to be honest with you, from a fan entertainment standpoint. The rest of the Sun Belt schedule feels like it might be just super dull.
Did you hear Byington's comments at his press conference yesterday?
No, I did not.
So he was talking, someone asked him about, Sun Belt play going into it, going on the road this weekend, defense. And Byington went on this whole thing about how they need to play better defensively. If they don't have a good offensive game, that it won't matter because their defense, essentially saying like they're okay with just like grinding out 62-50 type of wins that are just going to be abysmal to watch.
Sweet.
Like that sounds terrible. Like he was talking, and I was like, I really wish you just said, no, we just got to pick up the tempo and drop 100 on them. And I know that's not the correct answer. And like the way that they're trying to go about it, how to win these games, defensive first, which their defense has been a little bit of a weak spot, which isn't typical of a Mark Byington team. But man, it's going to be, some of these games might get ugly.
Yeah, I think that's what's so interesting is last year they were really good defensively. They've kind of alternated years, offense and defense, but they're like 33rd in KenPom offensively. I mean, they're like an elite college basketball offense. I think they're 126 now in defensive efficiency. So yeah, they've got some room to improve there, but the offense, unbelievable. They can shoot, they can score inside. Talked about that a lot with Daniel Merriman last week, and they sort of continued that nicely against Texas State for the most part.
Yeah, and you know what starts it all?
TJ Bickerstaff.
Well, I just put together some stats that I want to run by you because
Okay, well, hit me.
Last time I talked about a player winning an award for the Sun Belt postseason, it was Jordan McLeod, his case for Sun Belt Offensive Player of the Year. And guess what happened?
He won.
He transferred.
not yet.
Yeah, that's right. Jordan McLeod is still in the
He's
portal.
just chilling in the portal, walking around, strolling around in there.
And throwing up Houston football signs and then just hasn't gone anywhere. But TJ Bickerstaff, he is 4th in the league in points per game with 16.2, 4th in rebounds per game with 8.3, 2nd in the conference in field goal percentage at 68%. And according to KenPom, he's the number 1 player in the Sun Belt as of right now. And the cherry on top that's really fun with TJ Bickerstaff, his offensive rating is 109.8 against tier A competition. Just plays some of his best basketball against the best teams.
How is he on a mid-major roster?
I was thinking the exact same thing because when he plays, and this is no slight to Terrence Edwards because he is a damn good basketball player who has gotten better every single year. And there were times where he just would jump off the screen when you're watching him. But like TJ Bickerstaff, so much better than Takal Molson, so much better than Vado Moore. Like those guys were really good players. And then Bickerstaff is just another level.
Yeah, he's like a power conference big and put up decent numbers at Boston College. Can score more than I thought he was going to be able to score.
Yes.
He does so many things well. And then, of course, I think for the first time, not only do they have a big, but they also back him up with Jalen Carey, who's been really good. And they don't lose a step in the paint for probably the first time in the Byington era.
Well, they already start with like a few steps forward.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like normally they start on like negative square one.
Like if they had Carey as the number 1 option in the post, would probably be hype compared to previous years.
We would be saying this was the best post presence they've had in the Byington era, and he's their second option.
They're good down low, and they can shoot. I mean, it's a dream come true offensively. Do you think the defense, 126 in KenPom, do you think they can turn it around a little bit, or is this sort of like, hey, they're not a bad defense, right? It's not like they're outside the top 200 or anything, but they're obviously not great yet.
If I'm being honest, I think they're going to stack up against some teams that will pad their stats. I mean, you're going up against Louisiana. That's going to be a test for your defense because Louisiana is experienced and good offensively. But then after that, you have Southern Miss. They're 232nd in the nation in offensive efficiency. And then your other teams, your best offense you're facing off against outside of Louisiana excuse me, is App State at 125. And they're not known to be like a particularly good offense. You know, like you're just not going up against great offenses in the Sun Belt. So your defense will get better, in my opinion.
That's way worse than I thought. I also looked at those Sun Belt stats. Oh my God.
It's ugly. The worst offense is Louisiana Monroe at 317th.
That's horrible.
It's not a good conference this year. If you're looking at across the nation, last year they were around that like West Coast Conference Ivy League spot around like 11, 12, like the 11th, the 12th best conference overall. They are now the 17th best conference, similar to that of not even the Big West or the SoCon because they are so much better, similar to the Big South, which, as you know, has teams like Winthrop, Longwood, Michael Christmas, and the Coastal and the CAA. Like they're more similar to the CAA this year than they are the SoCon.
Yikes.
How do we get on this full tangent about how bad the Sun Belt is at basketball? You know what? There's another topic off the outline that I want to hit on with men's basketball.
Okay.
You ready for it? Terrence Edwards. I didn't realize how great his growth was year over year.
Pretty insane.
Like he started his collegiate career with an offensive rating of 90.2. You don't see a lot of guys with an offensive rating in the 90s stick around and like continue to get great minutes.
He's rather fascinating, right? Where he came to JMU, was like kind of a spark plug energy guy, and was like, wow, he just can't shoot. Now he's like a 40+% 3-point shooter with a motion that you probably wouldn't teach, but like he makes a lot of threes. He can get to the rim. He can handle the ball and pass, and then he defends well. He's a complete player who should, again, similar to Bickerstaff, and this is sort of the same thing we said about like the football team when they were thriving, like guys that like probably should be on Power 5 rosters, but are not. Makes it pretty capable of going through the Sun Belt and winning a lot of games when you have power conference caliber players on a mid-major team. And you can argue kind of like a low major conference this year, right? They don't look very good.
Yeah, low major.
It's hard to,
if you have to argue that it is a low major.
If you're a Sun Belt team, how do you hang within like a bad Sun Belt team? How do you hang within 10?
And I don't mean to get ahead of ourselves because we're going to that App State game on the 13th. We are pumped for it. But like, not to get ahead of ourselves, but how does App State hang with them? They don't have a good offense. They have a good defense, but like they faced the Queen's University of Charlotte Royals. They haven't had like a great non-conference schedule either. They faced Auburn at home, which is awesome, and you took them down. But like you got a couple stinkers on there, hyping up your defensive rating. I just am not fully bought into Dusty Kearns and that App State defense that is currently top 65 in KenPom.
Yeah, we'll see with them. That it kind of seems like those are the clear two teams.
Yeah.
But not sure if App State is sort of 1B or just a clear 2.
I think they're a clear 2. And they might make me eat my words with like a 20-point win on the 13th. Like Jamie, there's a good chance Jamie finishes the season with 3 losses. All 3 losses are to App State.
Can you imagine if App State ends the undefeated football season in Harrisonburg and ends the undefeated men's basketball season in Harrisonburg?
They're talking about that though.
I'm sure that'd be pretty cool for them.
No. And another thing, a real big reason why JMU this year is undefeated and have taken down the likes of, Michigan State and Kent State. Terrence Edwards against tier A opponents, so kind of quad 1, upper quad type of teams, type of games. He has 114 offensive rating. Last year, he had an 84.3 offensive rating in the biggest games of the season. His jump forward can't be understated.
He's awesome. He's absolutely phenomenal. They got 2 of the best players in the conference and then a bunch of really good players around them.
Maybe even the best player in the conference, and Michael Green. I'm not out on him yet.
He's good.
Not saying like you should be out on Michael Green. Like he is a very good player. Not saying that. Like you know what I mean.
I do. Dog.
Also, another guy that you kind of watch on the schedule, the roster, and you're like, how is he on a low major team?
All of them. Wooden.
Baller.
Friedel.
Streaky, but when he's on, he is one of the best shooters in the Sun Belt.
So does he narrow the rotation at some point, do you think,
No.
Byington?
Has he ever?
I don't know, but it's like they also haven't played quite as meaningful games as they're about to play. Like
what would your dream rotation be? Because I'm not too upset with how this rotation is being played out right now.
No, I like their guys in their rotation. I wonder though, like if Quincy Allen gets healthy again, does he start to play a little? Bryant Randleman is basically out of the rotation at this point.
Well, I think it's because he doesn't shoot the ball,
which is probably good sometimes. But then like Xavier Brown, good player, good spark plug. Sometimes takes some reckless shots, but pretty good player. Like I just don't know if he really tightens it down the like when you get into like Sunbelt tournament. If you lose, could it end your season? Kind of stuff. Does he like, hey, I'm going to go with 7? Probably not.
That's a good point. Okay,
something to monitor.
Right now, the biggest starting five he's had, kind of his rotation: Michael Green, Noah Friedel, Terrence Edwards, Julian Wooden, TJ Bickerstaff. Carey off the bench, Raekwon Horton, Xavier Brown, Bryant Randleman a little bit. But yeah, Quincy Allen will be coming back into the fold. Who else is there? I said Jalen Carey. What am I missing?
That's pretty much their guys. Right?
Roberson.
Yeah, he's probably not getting a ton of looks. Horton's better than I thought he was going to be. I thought he'd be a decent piece, but he's like a stud off the bench.
Horton here's a 3, baby.
He's a monster. He's long.
You know what?
Gosh, they're good, man. They're really
They
good.
are, and I'm so damaged by past JMU basketball teams where I'm not able to fully let myself buy in. Like,
I've bought it.
See, I still am expecting I'm fully expecting us to go to Harrisonburg and watch JMU lose a heartbreaker to App State.
I could see that, but then I think they'd win like 9 of the next 10.
Yeah, but like whenever you buy in, it hurts.
Yeah. What Raekwon Horton, dog. What is anything worth like at this point? Is it an NCAA tournament or bust?
No, I won't go that far.
I will.
I mean, you know what really stupid thing I was about to say right there? I wouldn't go so far as to say it's an NCAA tournament or bust, but it's Sun Belt Championship or bust.
I like that. Just different framing. The NIT would be disappointing. Like, it would not be the end of the world because I think they could win games in the NIT. But
they might win the NIT. You know what they could go, and I think they would make some noise. College Basketball Insider Tournament, the CBI, man.
They win that. This is a CBI winning team.
Yeah.
At minimum. We got to get ourselves into a presser and be like, all right, coach, like, we know you've got a CBI winning team, but how do you get over that hump? Like, what are you talking about?
All right. Moving from men's basketball, what they did against Texas State, we'll break down their upcoming weekend here in just a little bit. JMU women's basketball, they pick up a really big 85-79 win on the road against ULM to start conference play. Jamia Hazel dropped a career-high 25 points. 13 of those came in the fourth quarter. She was absolutely massive for the Dukes to pick up this win over the Warhawks. Surprised, expected, moving forward into this next weekend. Thoughts?
ULM was better than I thought. They're 8-3, and they hadn't lost to anyone outside of Power Conference prior to that game, so that's a good win. Hazel's performance, I've like conditioned my brain when people take mid-range jumpers to be like, no, like, don't. What are you doing? There were so many times when she took mid-range, I'm like, oh, and she just made like all of them. And mid-range, I was like, no, wow.
You must have hated watching Sean Livingston for the Warriors.
Yeah, exactly. So I was stressed out during this game. One of the few games I've ever seen like a JMU women's basketball team play that, like, I feel like a lot of the times the last 5 to 10 years, they just grind you. Like, great defense. They score when they need to, and they find ways to win. This one was like every time they took the ball up the court in the second half, I thought they were going to score, and they basically did. Incredible offense. The defense was not quite there, but the offense was absolutely phenomenal with Hazel and some others. So shout out to them for having probably the best offensive performance I've seen them have since the Sun Belt Championship last year.
So the women's team has scored 70 points or more 7 times this season. They are 7-0 in those games. The tide might be turning where this is more of an offensive team than a defensive team.
I like that. That's a good nugget for Coach O and the coaches to score more.
That was my favorite. Like when you're watching NFL broadcasts and they're like, the Seahawks are 7-0 when Sean Alexander rushes the ball 30 times or more, like not taking into account like anything else. It's just like, okay, well then why don't they just hand it to him for the first 30 plays and they win?
I love, when they run for 150 or more yards, it's like, yeah, they're probably leading and like burning the clock and it's working. Like, sounds great.
Like, Jamie's undefeated when scoring 70. Coach O, listen to me. Score 70.
It is crazy though how different they're all. Like, some of the games where they lose, it's like 50, and then they're winning with like 75. Like, there's not like
They haven't won like a grinded out 62-58 game.
Yeah, it's not like they're going from scoring 70 to like 66. It's like they're going from scoring 73 to like 49. So a pretty big difference there.
Yeah. So that brings us this week's Three Notched Weekly preview. JMU men's basketball, they hit the road to take on Louisiana and Southern Miss. First road trip of the season. They have a couple of these throughout their schedule, just an away and away. It's a big weekend, though, because this is the first true test for this undefeated team to go on the road in Sunbelt play, albeit against lesser quality opponents. But you could easily drop one of these games. Southern Miss, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, a weird place. The Raging Cajuns, they haven't lost a game at home in 690 days. It's a Raging Cajuns team that's coached by Bob Marlin. Their whole starting five, all of them are juniors, all have an offensive rating of 100 or more. It's an experienced group. It is a deep group. They know what they're doing. Something to watch out for. They're not a good defensive team, like at all. They're allowing a 52% effective field goal percentage, and they allow an offensive rebound on 38% of possessions, the 357th worst mark in the nation. What are you expecting for this first game on Thursday against the Raging Cajuns?
Probably the best of the two games this week, I would think. You mentioned that 690 days. Very impressive, and I did not realize that they had that kind of success at home recently. Offensively, like you said, really good. They can shoot it from three. You can force some turnovers on them, especially through steals, which I think will be interesting because JMU does a nice job of that and has during the entire Mark Byington era. So I think there's a chance there, and it seems sort of like a TJ Bickerstaff game.
That's what I said.
Yeah, you're looking at one of the worst teams in terms of preventing offensive rebounds. Give me a lot of carry, give me a lot of Bickerstaff. If the Dukes are missing, go clean up the glass, get some second chance points in that one. And then Southern Miss, I was pretty excited about this game coming into the year, and then even recently. They lost by 21 to a Georgia Southern team that was 0-12 previously. Maybe Southern Miss just sucks. Maybe the Andre Curbelo effect isn't a real thing.
Where is it? I put a note somewhere. They haven't beat like a top 160 KenPom team.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe they're just bad. Maybe it'll be interesting. For whatever reason, they're dreadful defensively at guarding like any kind of shot, including threes. But they can create some steals, I guess. It feels like one where JMU could score 100 points.
Did you say this about Southern Miss? They can't defend the three to save their lives? Like
they're giving up like 40%.
Yeah, I think it's like 44% from three, which is amazing that teams are hitting it even like wide open at that clip. And yeah, Andre Curbelo, Donovan Ivory are kind of their two key guys. Curbelo just gets fed the ball every possession. It's going through him, but he's not that great. He's an Illinois transfer. Did you say that already? Illinois transfer, Power 5 guy. He was supposed to be like this program-changing transfer. Came in, head coach Jay Ladner didn't have him to start the season. He's been getting incorporated into this starting rotation, into that rotation overall the last few games. But they're 6-7. They don't look good. They haven't looked good. None of their numbers say that they're good. But I wouldn't be shocked if JMU picks up a big win against Louisiana and then somehow lose to Southern Miss.
Ladner has one of the weirder coaching tracks. I don't know if you looked at this.
I didn't.
Here's his Southern Miss tenure starting in 2020. 9-22, 8-17, 7-26, 25-8, and then 6-7 this year. So like hottest seat you could imagine, I would think. And then like top 100 KenPom team last year. I don't know exactly how that works. Maybe they had like a crazy portal class or something, but my God.
But then you bring in Andre Curbelo and you're like, okay, we should be able to run it back with some sort of like efficiency. And then you just don't.
I don't know how you have a top 100 team, and then they kind of laid an egg in the first round of the tournament last year. But gosh, that's very strange.
Yeah. So that's this. So what are you expecting? A 2-0 weekend, a 1-1 weekend, or an 0-2 weekend?
I think they go 2-0. But I think the Louisiana one has a chance to be pretty tough.
I like it. I think they go 2-0 as well, but like the cynic in me thinks it's a 1-1 week with like a loss to Southern Miss after a great win over Louisiana.
That'd be tough.
That'd be really tough. All right. So where do you want to go from here? Do you want to go into a quick Montpelier collective segment, or do you want to go into 2023, a year in review?
Let's do Montpelier collective.
Okay.
Just
you start us off. I have to write the lower third.
Real quick, nitty gritty, because we had questions. So we talked with Cliff Wood. I feel like people have had questions. So I guess just a basic overview. They obviously have their website that explains how the NIL collective works. The focus is on retention, is our understanding, right? So keeping players from transferring out, essentially. Sounded like, and this wasn't like necessarily on the record, but sounded like they had some confidence that if Signetti stayed, I think some of the guys who followed him to Indiana might have had some NIL things possibly in place that either they had previously or could have been offered that could have convinced them to stay. So I don't know if all of the like freak out of players transferring or whatever, so that some fans have had like, oh, is the collective working? Not totally fair, because I think with a coaching change, you're going to experience that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Regardless. I think one of the things that we had questions about was that like no one's publicly, or at least very minimal public exposure of players who have actually worked with the collective. I think Jalen Walker and Chauncey Logan did some stuff with the Red Cross, and Terrence Edwards does stuff with United Way, which if you follow United Way of like Harrisonburg, tweets a lot every time JMU men's basketball plays specifically about Terrence Edwards. So I just hadn't seen those before. But so there is something there. So I guess one of the questions fans had was like, are you working with anyone? They are. They just maybe aren't the most public about like what the deals are, who they're with. But I think the who they're with is going to get more obvious in 2024, it sounded like.
Yeah. And it's all community service driven, like you said. So they're teaming up with nonprofits and kind of community service leaders within the Harrisonburg community to pair up these student athletes with these community service organizations within the community. And then from there, they were kind of then working on it with them. So they kind of set it all up. That's how you get paid through your NIL. It's all through your community service acts and what you're doing around the Harrisonburg community. Like you said, Jalen Walker, Chauncey Logan, Terrence Edwards all have worked through the Montpelier collective. The Montpelier collective, though, is a relatively young collective in terms of the overall collective world. They were a few months post kind of, I'm really like the Swarm, which is Iowa's collective, was like right in on it at the jump. You know, Texas A&M's was right in on it on the jump. Montpelier collective was a little bit further away, and due to Virginia laws, the Montpelier collective has nothing to do at all with JMU. It is a completely separate entity run by Cliff Wood. He used to work in the Duke Club, but he no longer works with the university, and he works with the Montpelier collective. They are their own thing. The only type of communication or I guess help the university can give the Montpelier collective is through those videos that you see Jeff Bourne, Bob Chesney doing now. Kurt Signetti did them before, kind of asking for donations. Essentially, that's all they can do. So the Montpelier collective, not part of the Duke Club, not part of the university at all. They're doing their own thing. They're raising their own funds, and then they are paying student athletes to then go out into the community and do community service acts. And those players that they've worked with, it's been 3 so far: Chauncey Logan, Jalen Walker, Terrence Edwards. And like I said, because they are young, not a lot of deals have been struck, not a lot of kind of finish lines have been crossed with these contracts, but it's all retention based. So we're not going to go out into the transfer portal and offer Sluka our full Montpelier collective war chest. It's all retention based. So maybe that's a reason Tyshawn Wyatt stayed. Maybe there was a little NIL money that was thrown to him. We're not sure yet. If there's something that's posted about it, you can assume that's why. But it's all retention based. The money is going to the student athletes, and they kind of have to build up the money. So if you donated $100 and you're sitting there and you're like, well, why haven't they used my $100? Because $100 is nothing in the grand scheme of these collectives. They need at least $5,000 to $10,000 to then even get like one student athlete an NIL deal.
Yeah, you're not approaching somebody with like $33 and like, hey, we know Indiana called, but we have like lunch. We can buy you lunch. So yeah, I think that's interesting.
But no drinks.
That'd be so funny. Very stern. But it's I don't know. Like, it's weird. I'm not going to go on and be like, you got to donate to the collective because it's so hard to compete as the collective. So, like, I know some people are getting flustered or frustrated, like around Christmas ish when like players are leaving or maybe before, and people are like, you got to donate. The more money, the better. It's absolutely true because there's not like a specific going rate necessarily for each player. Like, it's a case by case basis. I don't think certain like valuations you see online are always totally correct. Like there's a level of estimation there, but JMU
Guesstimation.
doesn't. Yeah, JMU doesn't have like $1 million to give out, so they have to be strategic. And obviously, the more money that's raised, the more strategic you can be, the better chance you have of keeping some players, especially when your coach stays. Like I think the retention is going to be way more successful if it's like 10 grand and you're playing for the coaching staff you had rather than your coaching staff leaves and offers you more money because they know what you're being offered before. So I think that'll help a lot, but it's going to be tough, man. It's just hard to be a G5. I feel like in 2024.
It's really tough to be a G5. It feels like Jamie's kind of back in where they were during the FCS days, where you were just like getting these, honestly, the Power Five. I don't want to say scrubs, but like the Power Five send-offs that never really found their footing on a roster and they decided to transfer elsewhere. And in the FCS days, you transferred down because you didn't have to sit out a year. And now you can just transfer. So you're going to get a lot of those Power Five guys maybe transferring down to the Group of Five level instead. And so I think JMU's back in the position they were in terms of the transfer portal as they were in the FCS time.
And you can get some FCS stars, which is cool. Like obviously they got
Yes.
some good Holy Cross players. They're offering some Group of 5 players who are pretty good. Yeah, it's just hard. But the collective, if you donate, like they know what they're doing. They're doing their best. It's just a challenge. So it's
And
certainly a place you can donate.
and they have more manpower now. So that was a nice voice crack, right? They have more manpower now, so they should be able to, at least from what Cliffwood was saying, they're going to promote it a lot more. So you'll see
Yeah.
where your money is going. There'll be a tangible, cause and effect. I will say Montpelier Collective, different from Duke Club. Duke Club can potentially give higher salaries to the coach and give higher salaries to the coaching staff and do things to help the facilities and things that are university based. So if you want to like make $1 million donation and you want to keep Coach Chesney, do it through the Duke Club. If you want to do $1 million donation to keep Jordan McLeod, do it through the Montpelier Collective.
Right. And I think Cliff and then other people involved with the collective make the decisions. I saw a bunch of questions about this, like who are they picking? Pretty like basic, but like logical reasoning there. Like if you donate to football, they're going to look at like the all Sunbelt team and,
go down the line.
I think you can talk to the coach about like top players or figure it out. It's not that hard. You know what I mean? Like of the players returning, like D'Angelo Pons is very good. Tyshawn Wyatt is very good. Like those are the kind of guys who would have NIL deals. So it's not like, what are they doing? They're not like out here like talking to long snappers, like recruiting them while like
although Caden Schickel is a loss.
That's true. Talking to Caden Schickel and you got like Zach Horton and James Carpenter talking to Signetti in another room or something about going to Indiana. So they're doing like logical things to keep players. It's just hard if the coaching staff leaves.
Yes. All right. That brings us to the 2023 year in review.
That's really nice.
Did you ever play RuneScape?
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like RuneScape music. All right. Not that music. I don't really like that music either. I won't get into this. Okay, 2023 year in review. Bennett wrote an awesome article over on JMU Sports News.com. Head on over and check that out. But we are going to rank our top 5 moments from 2023. I tried to go a little bit different from Bennett's top 5 that I assume he's going to run back from the article.
Yes,
but
sir.
If not, we might have a few similarities. I'm going to say my number 5 and give my reason why. You're going to give your number 5, and then we're just going to kind of go through it that way. Are you cool with it?
Go for it.
All right. My top 5 moment from 2023 was Lacrosse's comeback against Maryland. Just absolutely electric. It looked like they were down and out. No chance of punching their ticket to go against Syracuse, but they did. What was it? A 4-goal comeback in 6 minutes?
Yeah, they were down
Like,
14-10 with like 6.5 minutes left and scored the last 5 in the
yeah,
NCAA tournament.
just electric. So that's my number 5.
That's a great number 5. Let's see. I'll go with some here to make sure we have some changes, some fun stuff. I'm gonna put number 5, since this one I'll remember for a long time and was very stupid, is Kurt Signetti showing the phone to the officials in the Utah State game, trying to get a call reversed. That's one that'll stay with me for a long time. What a memory.
God, that was such a weird game.
One of the dumbest games they've played in a long time.
Very dumb. My number 4, and let us know what your top moments are from the 2023 JMU Sports year in the comments. If you're listening to this on the podcast, tweet at us what your favorite moments were. My number 4 moment, the march that women's basketball had. Not just that they won the Sun Belt, I know it was a loss, but like looking back on that Ohio State game was awesome. Like, they had Ohio State on the ropes after Peyton McDaniel dropped like 40 on Troy's head in the championship game. And that march was absolutely electric from women's basketball. And that was early on in 2023. I hope they can replicate it here in March of 2024. But that was my number 4 moment.
That's a great number 4. That was a special run. I'll put men's soccer taking down number 1 UCF here. Final game of the regular season essentially guarantees a spot in the NCAA tournament where they won 2 games. Another great year for men's soccer, but beating number 1 is pretty darn special.
Not only that, then they went on, they nearly beat Loyola Marymount across the nation in LA. I'm pretty sure the guy who scored the game winner, it was a 1-0 defeat for JMU. The guy who scored the game winner, 99% sure he was like a top 5 pick in the MLS Super Draft.
That's tough. And they controlled, right? The Dukes kind of controlled possession, or at least for a lot
In the
of
first
them.
half, they had like 4 opportunities to score and just didn't. I was like, why am I up at 1 a.m.? My number 3, my last 3, maybe a little bit of recency bias, but number 3 for me is JMU's comeback against Kent State. Just an electric game that I think gets overshadowed by the Michigan State win the game before. I won't give away what my last 2 are, but this one was tough coming in at 3 because I really wanted to put it 1 spot higher, but just an absolutely electric finish to that game. I remember we were texting our friend Dom and he just goes, all right, I turned the game off. And then in the group chat, we're like, turn it back on. Turn it. It's going to overtime. They scored 5 points in, what was it, like 3 seconds? Less than 3? It
was like
4
3
seconds.
or 4 seconds. Well, and then it's not even just that. It's that they had the ball underneath the other basket with down 5. They did the wooden through like a baseball pass to Friedel, catches it, nails a 3. It was like, oh, that was kind of surprising that you would even like attempt that, but cool. And then they draw the offensive foul, get the ball. I thought they were going to try to drop a 3. They get him for like a backdoor uncovered layup.
For no reason.
For no reason. And then perhaps the best part of the game is they had almost a similar choke in overtime where like they had it. The game was over. They blow it. And then it goes to double overtime where they found a way to win. So it went from like, oh, wow, this stinks, they lost, to follow up the Michigan State game, to be like, wow, they did it, unbelievable, to then again being like, wow, they choked this, what the hell? And then they did it. What a stupid. The best part of all this, too, is it's happening while the football team is like thriving, threatening lawsuits. Like, it's just absolute chaos to be like, you've got the soccer team taking down number 1. The emotional high that we were on as fans was just unbelievable.
Yeah. What's your number 3 moment?
Oh, this is a tough one. I'll say for my number 3, I'll go with, and the lacrosse one's got to be up there. I'll have Michigan State here. So I'll have the men's basketball upset over Michigan State. I'll put it 3. Pretty special moment, obviously, to open the year with a win at Michigan State in a game that they hung around. And I was like, oh, maybe they'll lose by like 5. Found a way to win in overtime. Pretty unbelievable.
Pretty crazy. That's my number 2. My number 2 moment is that upset, because as the announcers were saying throughout that game, I mean, Tyson Walker, notorious Dukes slayer, as we all know, during his time at Northeastern. Michael Green, he grew up in the Bronx, and it's those God, those announcements were almost as bad as the Utah State ones. But I mean, just what this game, I guess, was the foreshadowing for what this season was going to be, or what this season has been. Just electric. I mean, it was just a game that I remember going into it going, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
I don't have any hope for this game. And they pulled out a win on the road in one of the toughest places to win.
The announcing for me makes it even funnier, where they're like, Terrence Edwards was talking trash, and they're like, you don't want to poke the bear. And it's like, you look at it now, like JMU is ranked, Michigan State is unranked. Terrence Edwards is like 1 or 2 for Sunbelt Player of the Year. And like, if he wants to next year, he'll be on a power conference roster. It's just so dumb to be like, I don't know if this guy wants to do this. It's like, no, you should have done an ounce of
They also kept calling him Herky Jerky.
whatever that means. Yeah.
All right. You're number 2.
My number 2, I'll go with hosting College Game Day.
That's a good one.
Special. Obviously, I think this would be a clear cut, no doubt, number 1 if they complete the comeback and beat App State. The loss makes it sting a little bit.
1 and 2 in game day games. 1 and 2. That's not good.
That's not good. But still, really cool to have it. 20,000 plus reportedly on the quad. Jonas Brothers concert. The whole weekend was cool, right? With the Radford game was just like an atmosphere that should not have been there for the Radford game. Of course, it was arguably like their worst performance of the season too, which makes it fun.
But they won.
They did win.
Which is something that JMU men's basketball does not do a lot. And they've started to do it more under Mark Byington.
Football team did not win that weekend, so we'll give basketball team credit for that.
Real quick on that kind of topic, they play one of their worst games of the season against Radford. They pull out the win. What Mark Byington has been able to do for JMU, it is 4 years ago that we were suffering through the Blue era. This was one of the worst teams in Division I basketball.
We're talking about how like the defense needs work. His last year row, the defense was 323 in Ken Pom. They're legitimately 200 spots better, and we're like, yeah, hopefully they can figure it out. like the standard's so much higher now.
He literally came in and has done things that no one has ever done in JMU men's basketball history.
Yeah, Jeff Bourne deserves a nice send off for that one too. Because
he also deserves a slap on the wrist for hiring Rowe in the first place.
Slap him on the wrist, pat him on the back all at the same time.
yeah, exactly.
A bunch of stuff. But it was like he was okay at Georgia Southern. Like he had some nice teams and they don't have a lot of resources, but he's never been the NIT or NCAA tournament as a head coach. And now he's got him in the top 25 and is like an up and coming star. Like that was a very good hire.
Amazing hire. Number 1, JMU upsets UVA. Looking back, it was a 1-point win against a bad UVA team, against Anthony Calandria, who it might be good, might not be good. He's the backup quarterback, whatever. Just what that game meant, because UVA had been dodging the Dukes for 40 years. We finally get the opportunity, me and you, to travel to Scott Stadium, where you used to cover the games for the Daily Progress, and watching JMU take down UVA was absolutely electric.
Yeah, this is my one too. What a game. It was one that sort of set the tone for the whole year because it could have gone the other way pretty easily. They find a way to win. Rain delay. Shout out God. Looking down on Liberty supposedly, but they lose by 39 in the Fiesta Bowl, whereas JMU gets this nice rain delay. Maybe God wears purple.
Maybe.
But what a game. Unbelievable win. Jordan McLeod, stuff of legends. It was awesome because I thought they were going to blow them out in the first quarter. And then I thought they were going to get blown out. And then they won by a point. And they also left a dude completely uncovered on 4th and 20. And Calandria missed him. Thank goodness.
That was, my heart stopped. That was such bad coverage. If that is Tony Muskett, they are winning.
The dude is 5 or 6 yards of separation.
Even if you don't hit him in stride, it's a touchdown.
Well, and then they go.
Why are they playing no over the top help? What were the safeties doing?
That was a question we asked a lot throughout the season. And then you've got, before that, the go-ahead touchdown. They're going for 2 to go up 3, but a 2-point conversion the other way kills you. They run a swing pass, which brings a pick six into play. Signetti says he tells Jordan McLeod, don't throw it if the linebacker's going that way. He goes, bet. Linebacker goes that way, throws it in there anyway, almost gets picked and returned the other way. And he's just like, I thought I could fit it in. So I love
That really set the tone for the McLeod era.
I just thought I could wing it in there.
Oh, man. 2023 really brought us a lot of great moments.
It did. What a year.
And one really sad moment. 2 sad moments. But all right, that brings us to this week's listener questions. First one, we got 2 from Daniel Merriman. I'll hit you with the first one. Who is your favorite player to break out into stardom next season for JMU football? Wayne Knight has entered stardom.
That's a good. I'll go with you. I'll go with his brother. I'll go with Ymir Knight. I think he can fill in to a little bit of that Phoenix Sproles role. I wonder if they give him some carries as sort of a running back, wide receiver hybrid like he was in high school.
I'm going to go with no. Wait, it's a new coaching staff. Never mind. Maybe.
Yeah. Signetti would never do that. But Dean Kennedy, Bob Chesney, who knows?
I got 2 answers. Oh, wait, it says player. Never mind. One answer. Omarion Dollison.
You love speed.
Give me all the speed. I tweeted this like 2-3 weeks ago. I said, Omarion Dollison, sleeper to be on the Sun Belt all-conference team. I think he's got speed. I love what Dean Kennedy brings to this offense. They are weird. They are fun. Somehow, I think Bob Chesney's going to look at this roster and be like, you're telling me the guy who at 22 miles an hour only had 3 catches? No. We got to get him the ball more. I think he'll be fed the ball, and he will be fantastic. Question number 2, who is the biggest X factor? This is also from Daniel Merriman. Who is the biggest X factor for JMU men's basketball postseason success?
Oh, maybe Horton. I'll say Horton. If he's like playing elite off the bench, I feel like that gives him a huge lift.
I'm going to go with Julian Wooden.
That's a good one.
Because we always talk about Wooden. We always bring him up. He is a starter. But when he's on, this offense takes on a whole nother identity because he's a stretch 4 that all of a sudden pulls everyone out. And then it allows Bickerstaff to feast on the interior. It allows Jalen Carey to have space. I think Julian Wooden, if he has a good February and March, the Dukes will be nearly unstoppable.
That's fair. Him and Friedel are similar in that way, where like if one of them is like hitting from 3, I don't think they can lose to a Sun Belt.
Friedel, and Friedel, I mean, he leads the league in floor burns.
The effort.
He's a grinder, man. First in, last out. Coach on the floor. Yeah. This is from Alex 092975 birthday. Now that we are in full swing basketball mode, what is your favorite game of all time in JMU basketball history? Alex says, mine was being a part of the Electric Zoo when JMU played Purdue at home on December 3rd, 1994 and won 91-87.
We don't have as much great history due to our earlier birthdays.
I mean, Matthew Urbach's corner 3 as the shot clock was expiring.
I was going to say, do you remember when Hofstra hit that half-court buzzer beater in the first game of conference play and JMU never recovered and it led to Mark Byington becoming the head coach?
Yeah, like 3 years later.
That's one of my favorites. I'll say for me, it's got to be the recent UVA win.
Yes, I was going to say the exact same thing. I think that's the biggest win in the Atlantic Union. I think that's the biggest home win of the last, is it hyperbolic to say 10 years?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
That was the best win.
Maybe one of the best ever. Although I guess that UVA team was an NIT team, but still meant a lot.
It meant like the JMU UVA football win. It wasn't a great UVA team, but like what the meaning it had behind it. The funny thing is, though, both of those wins mean that UVA won't schedule JMU in either sport for another 40 years.
Yeah, sensing a theme there with these bad UVA teams.
They really spoil it for future JMU teams.
Yeah.
Sean Conway, biggest takeaway from women's basketball win this weekend?
They can score. They got people who can go get buckets.
maybe I'm really harping on the wrong thing with it, but it is what Heaven Bristow brings. I think Hazel being able to really fit in, and I don't think it's a coincidence that she has one of her best career games after they get that person they need to like slot everyone into the correct spot. But I think Hazel's performance, Hazel's going to need to be really good down in conference play for them to have a shot. And when Hazel's good, she is an electric player to watch. So I think Hazel's performance paired with Bristow's just being there. Bristow didn't have a great game, but I think it just slots everyone into the correct spot.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And watching the game that showed too, where she just makes everyone a little bit better.
Yeah. I think McDaniel also had 10, so good to see her in double digits and that continuing to grow. Kozlova is still a dog. Just feed it down to the post and let her go to work. So I think she's like the tallest player in Sunbelt.
Anna Goodman, I also think, had a really good game. I don't know if she ended up getting double figures or not, but she was, they're big. Daniel Merriman was telling us, like, just lean into being big, and they kind of did.
And that's what they should do in conference play. Zachary Baker at Zachary. I'm not going to read out all those numbers. How many players should JMU expect to add in the portal?
I don't know. It's you can probably do the math on this with like looking at who's returning, looking at the incoming class, and then counting to 85. I haven't done that, but I mean, they lost. How many did they lose in the portal? 10 plus.
10 plus.
Plus, you got guys who graduated.
And they added 11 plus more minus 4. Let's say they've added 15 recruit. I'd say like 20.
They've got a sizable number of spots.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah.
And you could still have some, well, I guess the window's closed, but you could have some additional departures possibly in the spring of like guys who go through and then realize, oh, maybe I'm not going to play that much. I want to go somewhere else. So then there's a little window there.
Or in the case of Tucker Dorsey and Ukwu, you kind of like, we can.
Oh, P5.
Yeah. P5. I would say like 15 to 20.
Yeah, they got some room for some big additions. They kind of need some.
They need it. Yeah. Currently, so far, they've added Dobbs, Ramil, McCarthy, and
they
Kyle
just added. They just added Tyler Purdy, running back, Holy Cross today.
I said Kyle Purdy. I think that was an old JMU player. Tyler Purdy, 6-year running back from Holy Cross. So they're adding. I think they'll slowly but surely add. I will say this about the Chesney era. It's early, but man, is he intentional.
That's true. They have offered a ton. So I think they've got visits coming. Fred Ferrier, UAB wide receiver. I was DMing a lot of people who had offers because I got bored the other day. He's visiting on Saturday. Just got offered by Kentucky offered him today. So potential SEC caliber receiver coming to the Dukes. Maybe. He's at least visiting.
Any other scoops?
Nobody else got back to me.
The playmaker.
The playmaker could. You never know. And who else? I talked to a defensive lineman. I think it's Canius Vaughn with UTEP, who is visiting Baylor. Sounds like he's not going to have time for a JMU visit, which makes sense with the Power 5 offers. So,
this is from Joey Needham. With us not publicly offering a quarterback in the portal yet, do y'all think we're holding out to see McLeod's plans? Or do you think we have privately offered Sluka and are trying to convince him to come to follow Chesney to the Dukes, or both? Okay, Bennett, you say your hot take that you texted me earlier, if you want.
I don't. I find
put you on the spot. Say your chair.
I find it a little weird. I thought McLeod was going to leave. I still kind of think he will, but it is weird that he was throwing up like Holy Cross running back coach coming to the Dukes via sources. That's from Dana Merriman. I always forget to say it. If you're not listening or watching the live stream, what are you doing? I don't know. I feel like McLeod's going to transfer. He was throwing up the Houston stuff, but it's weird that he hasn't done it in a while. I wonder if there's something there holding it up, whether it's...
He's also liked a lot of Houston coaches and fan things.
Sometimes stuff gets weird with like credits transferring, stuff like that. Maybe there's something there. Maybe there's not. I mean, if he wants to come back, he won Sunbelt Conference Player of the Year. So like, I assume if he wants to, they would welcome him with open arms. I also am fairly certain they've been in contact with portal guys and just not publicly had that come out.
The longer it goes, the more I think Sluka is coming.
Are we big? We're on board for Sluka.
I am fully on board for Sluka. I think he was in Miami though the other day for what, the Orange Bowl?
Was he?
What was played in Miami?
Yeah.
The Orange Bowl?
Uh-huh.
He was there. But what
Who
was that?
played in
The Orange Bowl was Florida State and Georgia?
So he's just visiting the campus.
Yeah, I think he's just visiting because
Miami.
they just added DJ Uyunglele and Carson Beck is still the Georgia quarterback. But I think Sluka is a real shot to come here. And what you said, Joey, there, do you think that they privately offered Sluka? Yes, I think that there are probably backroom dealings. Is that allowed to be happening right now? Yeah, because he's in the portal, so you can recruit him. I think there's probably backroom dealings going on with Sluka and Chesney, just letting him know that he has a place if he wants to. Like we said with the Montpelier Collective, it all's retention-based, though. So any player coming to JMU in the portal is not receiving any money. And Sluka will likely be getting money where he goes.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one because there's some Power Fives that still need to fill some quarterback spots. We'll see. It's going to get interesting here because they'll, I think, want to have either McLeod or a portal player in place probably in the next 10 days.
Keep it locked. Keep it locked to our transfer portal tracker. Keep it locked to our website, jmusportsnews.com, and keep it locked to our Twitter at jmusportsnews.com. If you got any scoops, feel free to email us, jmusportsnews@gmail.com. And last one, I don't know that name. Short list of QBs that JMU could or should target in the portal. If you want a short list, I got a really short list for you. McLeod, Sluka.
Don't sleep on Albany's Reese Poffenbarger.
I'm sorry, Parfenhergerberger?
Elite name.
Can you give it to me one more time?
Reese Poffenbarger, I believe is what it is.
You DM him too?
No, I haven't DM'd Reese. That's actually got something to do after this. I think it's, let me make sure I'm getting his Poffenbarger instead of Poffenburger. Don't worry, I'll find it, folks.
This is elite podcasting.
Sorry, I forgot that this one was a real conspiracy theory for me, where they hadn't actually offered him publicly, Reese Poffenbarger. But everybody follows him. I think Chesney and Kennedy both follow him on Twitter. If you go through the Twitter follows, great way to kill 15 minutes. Find a coach, go to their following. It's not like it used to be, but you'll still see like a lot of people that they could be offering in the portal. Various position coaches. Like if you're like, oh, I wonder who JMU could look at along the defensive line. Sam Daniels following. Boom. It's fun. So I've been doing that a bit. Some pretty good quarterbacks. Kennedy is kind of going after some quarterbacks and some running backs in his following. So based on his Twitter activity, the Dukes are about to make some offensive moves.
Can I go really deep into a rabbit hole before we wrap up here?
Yeah.
Kennedy has a lot of SEC ties.
Okay.
Do you think that Jaden Daniels withdraws from the NFL draft and comes to JMU?
How funny would that be? I'm a Duke. Everyone's like, what?
No, but
Luke are like, what?
I'm sorry. I had an offer in writing. I am very curious what the holdup is with Jordan McLeod.
The other thing, though, is he could be playing his, just waiting it out. Because, like, what if Miami doesn't go with a Sluka type?
Miami?
Florida. Yeah. Why couldn't Miami take him? I saw their athletic beat writer was talking Jordan McLeod the other day.
Yeah, but Miami's got like that Ja'Cory Brown kid.
Then why is Sluka at the Orange Bowl?
He wasn't watching Miami play. He was watching either Florida State
but
or...
That's where Miami is.
I wasn't thinking... No. I think... No.
Georgia's not bringing Sluka.
Neither is FSU. That's what I was saying.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a non-starter.
Okay. Unless he just, like, loves big bowl games.
Maybe.
But that's if you're going to pick
maybe he's a Capital One athlete.
Maybe.
Who knows? Maybe he has the Venture X card. Well, this has been the JMU Sports News podcast presented by Bet Online. You can keep up to date with everything happening in the transfer portal, who JMU has offered, who has accepted the JMU offers over at jmusportsnews.com. And you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, JMU Sports News across everything. If you haven't already, we please ask that you like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a review wherever you may be listening. For Bennett Conlon, my name's Jack Fitzpatrick. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day. See ya.
Thank you for listening to Believe. You can show support to your host by subscribing to the show and giving us a 5-star rating on your preferred platform. Check us out at Believe.com and search for BLEAV on YouTube.